Welcome back to another dissection video. Today, I will be dissecting a perch. Here are the tools we will be using: scissors, scalpel, forceps, and a probe. Let's get started. First up is the background information. A perch is a bony fish. This means it is a fish that has bones. All bony fish have nostrils, gills, fins, and scales that we will point out in the perch in a few. Perch live in freshwater bodies like rivers, ponds, and streams. Perch offspring are born in the spring. The females lay eggs in shallow water on plants or other solid objects. Now, let's get into the classification of a perch. The perch belongs to the kingdom Animalia. It has the phylum of Chordata. This means it has some kind of nerve cord and backbone. Chordates also have gills at some point in their lives, which this perch does have. The perch is part of the class ray-finned fishes, and these consist of all the bony fish. The order of perch is called perch-like fishes, and the family is Percidae, which contains freshwater bony fish. The genus of the fish is Perca. The species depends on the type of perch you are talking about. Now, let's start with the external anatomy. This is the jaw of the fish. The top jaw is the maxilla, and the bottom jaw is the mandible. Here are the eyes of the fish, and they work very well to help the fish see underwater. These are the nostrils of the fish, which I will be showing in my digital microscope. So as you can see here, these would be the nostril, and each nostril has two holes, one here and one here. Nostrils help the fish smell. Next up, we're going to talk about the operculum. The operculum is here. It is a bony layer that covers the gills of the fish. So in order to view the gills of the fish, you would have to remove the operculum, which we will do in the dissection. So here is the operculum. The operculum will open and close to keep water rushing over the gills. Next, we will talk about the anus. As you can see, the anus is over here, and it's a little hole right at the bottom. Here is the anal fin, which is right behind the anus. The anus is where the digestive tract ends. So, here is the anus of the fish. Over here is the anus, and on the other side would be the urogenital opening right here. The urogenital opening is where urine, egg, or sperm are released. Now, let's move on to the fins of the fish. The fish has paired fins. These fins are the pectoral fins, one here and one on the other side. At the bottom would be the pelvic fins. This is the anal fin, the one right behind the anus. And the tail would be the caudal fin, and it moves side to side to help the fish move around in the water. Here is the anterior dorsal fin, anterior because it's closer to the head, and here is the posterior dorsal fin, posterior because it's closer to the anus or the back of the fish. Here, you can see a line that runs through the fish. This here is called the lateral line. It allows the perch to detect the slightest changes in its environment, like vibrations and the amount of pressure. You can see that this fish has many scales, and like I mentioned before, it acts as an armor. Let's go to the digital microscope to show how these scales overlap. As you can see here, these scales, one is on top of the other, and this helps a lot when it comes to protecting the fish from predators. Now, let's move on to the dissection part. So, remember, when cutting, you should always make shallow cuts and cut away from your fingers so you don't accidentally hurt yourself or damage any internal organs. So you'll take your scissors and start from the mandible or the bottom jaw of the fish. Then you will cut all the way from here to the anal fin, which is over here. And when you get to the anal fin, you'll go from here to the top of the fish, the posterior dorsal fin. Once you get there, you are going to cut under the operculum. This is the operculum here, like I mentioned before. And you are going to cut under it so you don't accidentally damage the gills. So from here, you'll cut all the way to the top of the fish. Once you're done with that, you will cut in a line parallel to the lateral line here. So you'll take your scissors and cut like this. When done with that, you will have a rectangular cross section that will allow you to see all of the organs inside of the fish. So I have already pre-cut the fish before the video, so you can clearly see all of the internal organs. Here are the gills of the fish, and you can see how nice and feathery they are, and this helps absorb more oxygen. These thin lines are called the gill filaments, and they allow oxygen in the water to pass through them. That way it can absorb more oxygen. Let's take this over to the digital microscope to view the gills in more detail. Okay, so here are the gills, and you can see the gill filaments. And over here is a little arch, and this is called the gill arch, and it supports the gill filaments. Attached to the gill arch as it goes more into the fish would be the gill rakers, but unfortunately they are not visible here. The gill raker's job is to catch larger particles so the gills aren't damaged. You can tell if a fish is male or female by looking at its reproductive organs. A female will have a large ovary that is made of eggs, and a male will have testes, which comes in a pair. So over here, this fish would be a male. Here's the testes of the fish. There should be one more, but it is underneath one of the organs. So here's the testes of the fish. Therefore, this is a male perch. Underneath the testes, you can see the swim bladder, which is this pouch-like structure in the back. The fish can inflate the swim bladder by using oxygen collected by the gills. When the swim bladder inflates, the fish goes up and increases elevation in the water. When the swim bladder deflates, the fish sinks, similar to how a hot air balloon would work. Here is the liver of the perch. It secretes enzymes that breaks down fats. This would be the stomach of the perch. It's a little pink structure that my probe is under right now. That's the stomach. And if I were to press down on it, you can really see how muscular it is. The stomach is where all of the digestion takes place. Then, once the food is digested in the stomach, it leaves the fish through the intestine, which then leads to the anus. So this small tube here would be the intestine. Connected to the stomach are small finger-like projections. You could see one right here. And this is called the digestive cecum. Now, let's talk about the circulatory system of the fish. So here we are going to try to view the heart, which is back here. Let's take this to a digital microscope. Okay. So this structure here would be the heart of the fish. Unfortunately, you can't see it very well since it is blocked by skin. But yeah, this gray structure here would be the heart, which is behind the gills of the fish. The perch has a two-chambered heart, but here it's kind of hard to differentiate the different chambers. It has one atrium and one ventricle. The ventricle sends blood to the gills where it becomes oxygenated, and the atrium collects the blood from the rest of the body. Now, that is all for the fish dissection. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. I hope you all have learned something new today. Bye!